So moving on, now we've got Donna from FASS.
Hello, everyone. Next slide, Kate. Okay, so I work in FASS and I teach on 2 degrees, both of them are master's degrees, and both of them just happen to be first semester subjects, but on master's degree. Look, I've kind of done a bit of a fairy tale here because I think 12 months ago, if we'd been told what was going to happen this year, I thought we'd probably think, yeah, no, but it's a story, it's a fairy tale. It's not going to happen. It happens, as we all know. I don't need to sort of go into the challenges. I think we all face similar things, so time and skills and, oh my gosh, the email. Also, look, our personal challenges and the student experience. And I wanted to kind of focus on the student experience. Can I have the next slide, please, Katie? Okay, so when during kind of that week, I borrowed from a colleague of mine who talks a lot about Disney princesses. And she says about Disney princesses that they always sing, right? In any movie, Disney princesses are singing. But the singing, she says, pushes the story along somehow. So they just don't sing for no reason. They push the story along, and otherwise, it's just a song for a song's sake. And when I started to think about moving to online and shiny things, I'm kind of thinking, well, by shiny things, I mean sort of lovely things on canvas, which the postgrad team have been postgrad futures, just brilliant in producing. Shiny things in and of themselves don't do it unless they're like the songs in Disney films that move learning along. So it's not just about the shiny things. So what I kind of started to do is to make some kind of think about the students. And so I've got some assumptions about the students that posed questions for what I did that week. So Katie, may I have a next slide, please? So one of the first things I remember happening during that week, and one of those emails was an email, I think it may have even come from Shirley Alexander. It had a video in it, and it was just such a relief to arrive in that week. And I forget all the bits to it, but basically this woman was talking about being human and about, doing the best you can. And anyway, it was a great video, and 30 minutes really well spent. So when and she talked about synchronous versus non-synchronous, and I, kind of thinking about the shiny things, sort of pushing learning further, I thought, well, what can I do in the synchronous activity, kind of the live time, the workshops, that I can't do online? And I think that's what the video said, do that. And that's kind of what I did, is I did that. I focused on what is possible during that sort of online time that is not possible on Canvas. So I did that. So here's some assumptions about the students. First of all, the first kind of thing that came up, well, students can read. They don't need me to read out sort of a lecture, not that I do lecture. The other thing I didn't say is our workshops for one of these programs are 8 hours on a Saturday and Sunday. And there's no way anybody was going to sit for 8 hours on Zoom. So they were reduced in time. And so I had to be really selective in what I did. So students can read, the first thing. So I didn't do anything on Zoom that students couldn't read about or do. We actually did stuff. We used breakout rooms. I think the previous speaker and speakers to come will talk about the kinds of things that they did in breakout rooms and things, used other platforms like Google Docs, Jamboards, in conjunctions, live polls, those sorts of things. Had a surprisingly successful 3-way debate, by the way. And optional Q&A sessions. But the next thing I thought about, or the next assumption about students, is that they're human. And I'll talk a little bit more about that with the next slide, but here in the synchronous, they need lots of breaks, and they also needed to support connections. So one of the things about being human is the connections with other people. So I would purposefully kind of put people into breakout rooms and just say, go gossip. Go say hello, just for 5 minutes, catch up, see how, and then we'll come back and start. students really liked that. And particularly they liked, the students in one of the programs are all employed, so they really liked to kind of debrief and get stuff off their chest. And then also I thought, if your students are human, so am I. And our students actually, you know, in my own humanness, you know, not everything was perfect, but students were really generous, you know, and in fact, if I acknowledge my own difficulties, they were kind of relieved in a sense. So that was a good thing. The next thing about students making connections, I think I talked about the catching up. I'm jumping around here. But in terms of content, I'm sorry, I'm back on the other one, Katie. In terms of content about students making connections, they really want to, you know, it's really important for our students, I think, to make connections between what they do asynchronously versus what they do online. So I purposely sort of was quite direct in terms of the preparation activities. So kind of jigsaw activities where groups of students would read different articles and go into breakout rooms and present them and those sorts of things. So students arrived, you know, I think it was Learning.Futures sort of on steroids in a sense, but that really worked for me and really made the Zoom sessions that went from 8 hours down to 3 hours really worthwhile for students. So I had a good student turnout. So if I can have the next slide. So in terms of the asynchronous activities, the first kind of assumption here was that students aren't dupes. They can smell busy work a mile away. So I was careful that I just didn't fill up the Canvas site with stuff to keep them busy. I also, our students are quite diverse, and they have different professional contexts. And so there's also, I mean, there's also on Canvas a series of activities. I think there's 20 focus activities where students can choose 8 to complete. So there was some sort of diversity of resources to kind of help students with their own individual learning needs. And then students have lives, and a couple of things. This kind of made me realise that COVID was happening to students as well, not just to me. And that sort of, I mean, I know it sounds simple, but it was revolutionary. You know, like students also, they have babies, they have pets, they have, you know, insecure work, they have all those sorts of things that they need to deal with. And this kind of, so in terms of what I put on Canvas, or I get put on Canvas, in my head I had this kind of hypothetical student that it's 3 a.m. in the morning and they've finally got the kids to bed. What's that student going to need at 3 a.m. in the morning to get work done? And that's what how I think about what goes on Canvas. So there's always instructions. It's not just read something, but read it and look at this. It's not just watch this video, but watch this video, here's how it connects to your assessment task. So in terms of the assessment, and what's on Canvas, this idea that students have lives and they need information and they need resources when they need them kind of guided me in a sense. And then also in terms of them having lives, I think that the other thing that we were quite careful about in our faculty was being flexible as much as possible, and also recognising that how generous the students were during this time. Can we click here? Oh, you need to press, I don't know why. Okay, so I didn't tell, it doesn't matter. The bunny was about going down a rabbit hole. In the end, I kind of wanted to say thanks to the postgrad team and the LX people. I don't think that I could have done this session without your help, but the same with my close colleagues who swapped stories over G&Ts and coffee and unashamedly sort of plagiarised from each other. The students who were incredibly generous in their understandings of this time. We've had a little bit of feedback, like that was said earlier. We haven't yet got SFS back, but we've had a couple of emails to really sort of acknowledge our efforts, which kind of satisfies me. It's not over, but I'm looking forward to the next few weeks where we start again. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Donna. I really like that idea that we need to always think about students as well as ourselves as humans. And I think that really resonates with me.
If anybody didn't see it, that video about that Shirley sent is really worth it 30 minutes.
Thanks, Donna. And now on to Lisa from Science.